I'm Miwa Messer. I'm the producer and host of Poured Over. And, I have been following Nic Stone's career for a while. And, certainly if you have middle grade readers and young adult readers in your home, you know Nic Stone as well. But guess what? She's done something different, and Boomtown is here. And I'm very excited. Of course, this is a spoiler free conversation, and I'm making that face I always make when I say it's a spoiler free conversation. And there's stuff in Boomtown that is maybe not for the shorter set, as it were. But I have so many questions. So I'm just, you know what, Nic, I'm really happy to see you. Thank you for making the time. Where did Boomtown come from?
I live in Atlanta, born and
Mm-hmm.
raised.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta is I mean, there's like a strip club on most corners.
Yep.
And not just like a strip club. Atlanta is like the African American strip club capital of the United States. And so growing up, my dad was a police officer and he was in charge of the permits unit. So it was his job to permit the adult entertainers. So
Okay.
I'm like in elementary school, there are constantly these beautiful women going in and out of like getting the picture taken for their permits, getting their fingerprints taken, etc. And they were all so nice all the time. And, my dad never lied to me about anything. So he told me
Mm-hmm.
what he did for a living. So I've just been fascinated for so long. I also love murder
Mm-hmm.
and I love a good mystery. And
Mm-hmm.
I needed to do something very different than what I typically do. So this is where we landed.
So I have to ask though, when did you start working on this though? Because I feel like you're on a pretty consistent schedule with other projects. And I was like, wait a minute. And I saw it, and I'd been talking about it with your editor, and I'd been talking about it with your publicist. And I was like, wait. Okay, so how did you find the time? Because seriously, this is a really big departure.
I mean, it's not long. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Like I write like at least two books a year.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like you just make it work. And once
Okay.
I'm in it, I'm like in it.
Mm-hmm.
So and I don't really come up for air until it's finished. So I think I wrote Boomtown in a few months.
Okay.
Like it didn't take a super long time. For me, the ideation phase is what takes the longest. So like
Okay.
get an idea and it'll be years before, because I got the idea for Boomtown and it was called Boomtown even back then in like 2018. It just kind of popped into
Oh,
my head and it's coming out in 2025. So
right.
just took a minute to get the roots in.
It flies. It absolutely. I read it the first time I read it in an afternoon. And then, of course, when you're prepping for a show, you go back and you're reading differently. You're reading for more detail.
Yeah.
It's a different experience. But I mean, the first time I sat down, I was like, wait a minute, what just happened here? And part of it for me is Atlanta. Atlanta is a city I don't know well. I mean, I've been there, we have stores there, I like people there. But I don't know it the way I know some other cities. And I love this idea of Atlanta as character. I feel like I don't know if this book happens anywhere else. I feel like all of the women are a product of the American South, but Atlanta sort of puts the polish on it, as it were.
Hmm.
I think the dudes don't exist without Atlanta. I think, can we just, I know you're from there, but can you give us a lay of the land for, folks who may not have set foot in the place itself?
Well, first, to the folks that have never set foot in the
Hmm.
place, get your lives together and come visit. Okay. It is such a cool city. And I say that
Hmm.
having been to and lived in quite a few cities. So
Right.
the hospital I was born in is currently being torn down, which hurts my little 40-year-old soul, but I guess it's time. But no, it is such a city of contradictions.
Yeah.
It is wildly diverse. It's like we have this thing called the perimeter,
Hmm.
I-285. It's literally a highway that goes around the city, and like you're either ITP inside the perimeter or OTP outside the perimeter. But like inside the perimeter is technically the city, but the city is made up of these like suburban style neighborhoods. Like it's just
Right.
a wild place. Like one minute you are looking at Cardi B's mansion and you drive
Hmm.
5 minutes in the other direction and you're crossing a train track and wondering what's happening on this side of town. Like it's It's so cool. Food's good, people are good, a lot of Black people.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
love Black people. And so to have so many Black people in this beautiful place is delightful. Um, but yeah, everyone should come visit. Everyone should come visit. There's so
There,
much history here.
yeah, there's a ton of history, but also it feels like one of those cities like Chicago or, New York or Los Angeles, where people come. Like there is also a large transplant population. I mean, and partially that's business, but partially it's also the creative class. I mean,
Yep.
Atlanta has seen this sort of resurgence in not just, there's a lot of film and television happening there, obviously, but like
Mhm.
music never left. But still, there's a lot of art coming out of there. There was some tech happening. Like it's a new kind of melting pot in a way, and yet all of it calls back to Atlanta as it sort of evolved, which I think is kind of cool for a
Definitely.
city.
It is. Listen, I'm not encouraging anyone else to move here. Like we
Okay.
are so full, but
Mm.
do feel free to visit and get the
Okay.
history, take it back to your town and talk about how amazing it is down here.
So I think it's fair if we stick to the women, right? If we stick to Lyric, and I just want to make sure I get everyone's name: Charm, Lyric, and Lucky. And I want to stick to their stage names, and I'm really deliberate in this choice because there are moments too where you reveal a different kind of relationship for them with other characters in the book because their actual names are used. And so
Hmm.
that's why I kind of want to keep the device going, as it were.
Thank you.
But I want to talk about these women. I really quite like them, but they're all very, very different, and yet they seem like, where did they come from? Who showed up first? Like, let's just sit with them for a minute and talk about how they, because it's all about them, all
It
about
is
them.
all about them. Lyric, when I was 22, I was a personal trainer.
Hmm.
And I had two clients who were erotic dancers, and one of them, her stage name was Lyric. And like she told me a lot of her stories. There's a lot in that book that came from these early morning training sessions that I
Hmm.
was having with this dancer. So when Lyric the dancer came to mind in the book, she absolutely came from Lyric the dancer, my former
Hmm.
former client.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I knew that it was going to be, I knew there were going to be three women, and I knew that one was named Lyric, and I knew that one was named Lucky. And then it took me a minute to figure out the third one's name. But
Hmm.
like, it all, they are so similar and yet so different, just as you said. And I think part of the reason for that is because there are there is a through line to Black womanhood, right? Especially if you are a Black woman descended from chattel slavery. Like, if you are a Black American woman descended from chattel slavery, there is a through line in some of our experiences. And I think it's partially just stories being passed down, it's legacy, it's just there's just a texture there that is present in all three of these women, right? And it was important for me to make sure that this is a book that I wrote for, about, and to Black women. And so to be able to recognize oneself in hopefully not just one, but all of them is really important to me. They're different ages, they come from different walks of life, they have different backgrounds, but every single one of them is going to call to someone. And that was kind of the point of them existing as they do.
I know you said at the top of the show that you love to read thrillers, and this is a seat of your pants, edge of the seat, however, pick your metaphor, right? Um, my first thought, though, as I was reading it, was it's a novel about power. It's a novel about power structures. It's a novel about who has power, who doesn't have power, what it means when you don't have power and something not great happens. Um, it also feels very cinematic in some ways. There are some set pieces where I'm like, ow, I'm just thinking about someone's eye almost being, what I'm talking about.
Whew.
That felt a little too visceral. I have a thing about eyes. Um, but the way you structure it, right? Like the way you give us the beats, the way you give us the set pieces, the way we get all of the women, and there are a couple of There are a couple of other characters that I'm not going to jump into, right? But the way people enter and exit the story and the way you play with time
Mhm.
in a really interesting way. How do we get from character into the structure though? Because this book never stops. Like, I mean, there were a couple of moments I had to put it down. I'm like, okay, I think I will catch my breath now. Thank you very much. But which is exactly obviously what you want from a book,
100%.
right? But at the same time, I'm like, huh, okay, hold on, room, stop spinning for 2 seconds. But really, from a purely craft perspective, right? Like, I understand you're fully immersed in creating this world. Like, yeah, you know the people, you know Atlanta, but you still have to create a world. And there's some stuff in here where you're like, oh, okay, I'm glad that's not me. Glad
Hmm.
I'm reading about it because it totally works in the book. But structuring a world,
So I have this room in my head,
okay,
right? So I have this thing in my head where like it's like you enter, there's a long hallway and you step into what is essentially an atrium. It's got this beautiful domed ceiling and all around the circle are doors.
okay.
And each door is a story room. And I just go in there. So like I go into the story room and I just write down what I see. And I know that sounds to even my like I tried to describe this to my 8-year-old and he was like, "Mommy, are you okay?" 'Cause
Sorry, that's kind of funny.
he didn't get it. But
Right.
it's like for me, telling story is it's a discovery process. It's an
Hmm.
adventure. So like even in the planning of a story, because I am a meticulous outliner,
Okay, that I
I'm
needed to know
finding
that.
out what goes on,
Okay,
right? So where most people are writing a first draft to try and figure out what's going on,
right.
all of that happens for me in the outline stage. So I'm seeing colors, textures, hearing voices, hearing people talking, like all of this is happening inside my head, and I just have to be at my computer so I can capture it all. Um,
Okay,
as woo-woo and ridiculous as that may sound. But like there's so much of storytelling that is utterly and completely mysterious, right? Like I
right.
think about there's like 2% things you can teach when it
Right.
comes to storytelling, and the other 98% is just like magic and synapses and things that nobody's been able to explain yet.
What's in the 2% for you?
How to plot,
Uh,
pacing, how to utilize word count to create pace in books, like just
mm.
little like things typically that involve some sort of mathematics.
Listen, you need math to build a building, right? Like
Math to build
engineering does
anything.
not happen
Absolutely.
without math.
Yes.
And I don't think that takes the magic out of it, right? Like the language
No.
again, too, like all of the women again sound very distinct. I feel like they are connected to their communities because they have communities outside of work and then there's the work community
Mhm.
too. And code shifting isn't exactly what I would call, but like you have your inside voice and your outside voice. You have your work voice and your not work voice. And these women, the way they approach the world and the way the language shifts, like their point of view doesn't shift, but the way they interact, I think is really interesting. And,
Yeah.
we have this idea too that somehow, especially for strippers, like they don't own their own bodies and or that like somehow they become more public because of the work that they do, like somehow they are more publicly available. I don't know what I'm trying to dance around sort of
Yeah, I
a
hear, yeah, I hear
thorny,
what you're
it's
saying.
slightly thorny. But at the same time, we're talking about human beings who happen to do a thing for work, right? Like, okay, maybe I'm not sure how the math works on the upside down thing on the, yeah, there's some stuff where I'm like, yeah, I can't get my body to do.
Yeah, no, the upper body strength necessary is
Right?
wow.
It's totally trippy. But the idea though that misogyny can permeate even a space where really it is about women's bodies, right? Like it is the power that comes with that and what people are looking for in that circumstance. And yet the misogyny still
Hmm.
there.
Yeah. I mean, I find that the nature of misogyny, especially the type that kind of keeps itself underground,
Hmm.
um, it really comes to the fore in spaces filled with women
Hmm.
because that's where we're faced with each other. That's where
Right.
we're faced with what we believe about each other, what we think of each other. And an establishment, yes, where women are utilizing their form
Hmm.
to make a living. There are people who you are viewed as a product, right?
Right.
So there is an inherent dehumanization
Right.
that I really want to push back against, right? Like I think I'm hoping that with a story like this one,
Hmm.
people are just willing to think a little more broadly, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
not trying to get everybody to get up and go to the strip club, though it is a fun place. It's a
Fair enough.
great time. If you're in Atlanta, there's great food.
Okay.
Like, come on,
Wait,
I'll
what?
show you
Really?
around. Oh
Okay.
my gosh, the best lamb chops I've ever had in my life were in a strip club here. I'm not kidding.
I believe you. I'm just having a moment of lamb chop. Okay.
Lamb chops, lemon pepper wings, pork chops. What do you want? They have it. It's a whole thing. But I want people to recognize the inherent humanity in
Mm,
other people, no matter what they decide to do
right.
for a living. Like, especially when it comes to their bodies.
And it comes back to respectability too. I mean, respectability can pop, like, you'll see respectability in like a Jane Austen novel, right? It's like, oh no, she's too old. Why isn't she married? Oh, that hag. Like, respectability is the thing that it's sort of, thrumming below the surface, right? In a lot of different kinds of fiction. And it
Yeah.
could be, or Middlemarch, same thing. Like, I just had a very long conversation with an old pal about Middlemarch over the weekend. Like, 1872, respectability is still a thing. Like, it's this, you know, you could, and it's exactly what you were saying too, in a way. Like, how does the story translate? How does it pull through over time? How do these women experience the world because of what came before them?
Yes. Yeah. And I just want people to be open to other viewpoints. That's
Hmm.
it, right? Like when you're reading a book, for me, reading is all about information,
Yeah.
learning, seeing a perspective that's different from mine. And there's so much that we can learn and take and like grow from, even in
Hmm.
just engaging with stories about people who are different from us.
Right.
And hopefully, this book, I have this story about these three women who do what is considered wildly unsavory to the
Right.
American psyche. And like, but let's examine why. Like, I really want people to start again asking why. It's important that we understand why we believe the things we believe.
Did writing this book change you? Did it change your POV?
Um, I wouldn't say it changed it. It definitely it stretched me in a way that I wasn't expecting it to.
Hmm.
And it also forced me to reckon with all of the ways that I've made myself small. And I say that because as a person who typically writes for children, there
Right.
are so many shapes that you kind of have to bend
Hmm.
yourself into in
Hmm.
order to not only write things that appeal to a younger audience, but
Right.
that have enough exposition for people who don't yet know how to process their feelings. Like there's so
Yeah.
much more cognitive effort that goes into writing for kids for me. So it freed me up a lot, I will
Hmm.
say. And I definitely feel like more of an artist
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
I wrote Boomtown, and I think as I move forward, because like my next two books are both kid books. I have a
Right.
YA next summer and a middle grade next fall, but
Yeah. Yeah.
like they're so much more artistic, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I got to write Boomtown. I got to explore this world, and
Right.
I got to just kind of like be fully in my creative bag, if
Yeah.
you will.
I think it's interesting to, like, Nicola Yoon did this, what, a year ago, 2 years ago,
Mhm.
where she did a novel that surprised some folks. I mean, I enjoyed it. I had a really good time. I thought it was wild. But there were some folks who were kind of like, huh, this was not what I was expecting.
Mhm.
Or like, Maggie Stiefvater saying, like, there are YA writers who, Lauren Grodstein, there's some other folks too. Oh, Elizabeth Acevedo too,
Yeah.
where folks are like, huh. And I'm like, but you're a writer. It's kind of your job. Like, why not play in a different sandbox, right? Like, if you can write for the short set, I am not around children a lot. I do call them the short set because it
I'm not
entertains me.
mad at it. They're small.
But at the same time, I'm just like, but that's a whole different set of muscles, right? Like,
Yes.
writing across genre doesn't necessarily feel like a set of muscles to me. Like, sci-fi, okay, poetry, like that's less about the muscle than it is about the I'm going to play and see what happens, right?
Yes.
but I think when you're writing across age, it becomes an entirely different thing because you've got to actually strip things down. As you were saying, it's like, well, you're writing for people who don't know how to process emotion yet. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
right.
right. So
It's
that's
wildly different.
it is wildly different. The number of craft books I
Mm,
read just while working on this because I needed to get a better understanding of subtext. I needed to get a
uh-huh.
better understanding of how to use figurative language in a way that's designed to provoke sensation. I had it like
Yeah.
there were so many things that I had to get a better grip on
Hmm. Hmm.
because adults are adults. I don't have to tell you what you're feeling. Like the
Right.
whole point is for me to just create an experience and you take what you feel from it. Like you
Right.
get to decide what you're feeling, right? Like I'm not telling you what to feel. So even things like that, um, it made it very different, but it was
Hmm.
also so much fun.
Yeah.
Like I had a blast
Right.
writing this book and like not having to hold back. And
Hmm.
like there were some times where I was like, am I allowed to put this
Right.
in here?
Right.
Because like and of course, yeah, I'm writing for adults, but to
Hmm.
be a person like I'm banned. Some of my children's books are banned.
Right.
So like
Right.
even that, learning how to stretch a muscle
Hmm.
that I've deliberately kind of kept tucked in because
Right.
being banned is trash, right?
Right.
It's so it was a good experience though.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that because also too, like you're still in service to the story. Like the characters are, I mean, I get that you meticulously plot and plan and outline, which now that I've heard you say that, I'm like, oh, I could see that. I could tell because
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were a pantser or a
Oh
planner.
God.
Sorry. But at the same time, it's like I never see, and I have read some, I've read Dear Justice, I've read Dear Martin. The seams never show. Like I'm aware that I'm reading books that I want to pass on to a reader of a certain age, right? Like I absolutely get it, but it's like I'm just in it and I like these
Yeah.
kids and but if you and I, but any readers had this experience where you're trucking along in a book and you're having a really good time and then all of a sudden just something weird, like a weird line, like the wrong word. This is years ago. I had a manuscript in front of me and it was set in the 1600s in England, and someone used the word pickle, and I was like, I'm stuck. Well, it turns out pickle was historically correct, but I was like, who would ever in the 1600s say I'm in a pickle? Well, apparently it's not. But like, I just got, it was like the record scratch where you're just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't. And so the idea that you're questioning like what I can do and what I can't do, like that feels to me like the authentic response of a reader
Yeah.
as
Oh,
much
totally.
as it is the person who's creating this universe.
Yeah. My 11th grade English teacher used to constantly say, write like a reader and read like a writer. And
Mm,
like, it's interesting because it's like I wouldn't have been able to explain what she meant
yeah.
back when I was 16, but there was something that resonated.
Hmm.
And now I get it, you know? It's like when you are writing as an audience member,
Yeah.
you're telling a completely different story than if
Hmm.
you were writing as a person who's trying to entertain an audience. Like being in the crowd versus looking at the crowd
Yeah.
is they're totally different positions to write from.
I mean, when I was younger, YA was not the thing. Like we went straight from like Little House on the Prairie to, hey, Judith Krantz, who are you? Like there was like literally like maybe you had like The Outsiders and Dinky Hawker Shoes. I'm dating myself so badly, but at the same time, like you kind of had to start punching above your weight sort of immediately, right? There
Yeah.
wasn't this middle ground. And part of what's been so exciting being in the book world in the last few years too, like the last couple of decades, is just watching all of this energy go into different forms of publishing for different right? Like, and it's just kind of like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Like, what's happening here? Like, how are we doing these stories, and how do we raise like a new generation? I mean, I have read some really gross, grody stuff, and I'm good, and I'm like, now I have a thing I would rather do.
Yeah.
But the idea that you can pull someone into story and get them to connect,
Mhm.
right, with the unexpected.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking just about sci-fi or horror or any of that. I'm just like literally, you can be pleasantly surprised buy a book simply because something zigs when you thought it was going to zag. Like
100%.
it's delightful. It is the
It
best.
is.
Like you can time travel, you can do all of the things with
Yeah,
and hold it in one hand. It's kind of like, oh,
literally.
it's
And
just
it smells nice like paper. It's the
right.
best.
But wait, can we talk about some of the other writers who made you Nick Stone reader and writer? Because sometimes they feed in different ways. But you've been doing this for a while. You've been pulling from lots of different places.
Yeah, I got into reading with Encyclopedia Brown. I now I'm dating myself, but
Hmm.
I used to sit in my library, my school library, with just a stack of Encyclopedia Brown books
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just read. So, for those who are unaware, it's a little mystery series, it's a
Yep.
chapter book series about a kid named Leroy Brown, who was the son of the police chief, and he would help his dad solve mysteries, or he would help solve mysteries around the
Hmm.
neighborhood. But there was something about the agency that this kid was allowed to
Yeah,
exercise. I
completely.
was so
Completely.
drawn to. Like I was really drawn to him being really smart and that intelligence being respected by the
Hmm.
adults around him. And so those were the books that made me a reader. I was super into Mrs. Pigglewiggle too.
Hmm.
When I was in elementary school, there were none,
Right.
very, very few, if any, books that featured Black characters
Right.
who weren't, enslaved or written by Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Um, there's so many, there were so many books. I was typically drawn to the books that had the plucky main character who would get in trouble, like Harriet the Spy.
Harriet the Spy. I
Like,
was just gonna
that's
say
just
we are
Harriet
both
the
Harriet
Spy.
the Spy.
Like I
Yeah.
loved that book so much.
Hmm.
So those were the books that got me into reading when I was young. But then when I hit
Hmm.
middle school, started going through puberty and realized that I live in a body. And I could see like, oh wait, this is what this body looks like.
Hmm.
It occurred to me that I'd never seen a body like mine in the books that I read.
Right.
Reading kind of lost its savor for a minute for me.
Oh,
Um,
seriously? I didn't know that.
yeah, it just, To Kill a Mockingbird, The
Hmm.
Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and Of Mice and Men were like the three books I had to read in school that had a Black character. And none of
Mm.
those Black characters had lives
Mm.
that I wanted to emulate in any way. So, yeah, for a minute, I didn't really, I wasn't super into it. And then, interestingly enough, I read the Divergent trilogy in
Oh,
my
the
late
Veronica Roth.
the
Okay.
Veronica Roth trilogy.
Okay.
And it was my first time encountering a character who was a Black female that I felt like I could identify with. And I was like 27. Like I
Yeah.
was older.
Right.
But that book series is what kind of sparked this idea that like, hey, maybe I could write something.
Yeah.
Um, the first book I ever wrote, I self-published for my 40th birthday in July.
Oh, seriously. Okay.
I'm waiting
Okay.
for them to come from the printer,
Okay.
but I wish I had the proof here at the table. I would totally show it to you.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I wrote it when I was 27, and actually, I'm gonna run and get it. So I read
Uh-huh.
Divergent,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Totally, totally.
And as a result, I wound up writing this book.
Wow. Okay.
And so, like, I self-published it for my birthday and like
The
did like
package
a
is
whole
good.
thing. It's got the
The
package is
package is
everything,
good.
right?
The package is
But it
good.
and it felt good to do that this year. Like it
Yeah.
felt good to make something, put something into print that I made that, was like the first thing I ever wrote.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
started reading Suzanne, the Hunger Games series was super
Yeah.
influential. Author Jason Reynolds is and will always be probably my greatest influence
Yeah.
in, especially in the young adult
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Um, I love Jennifer Egan. Like A Visit from the Goon
I
Squad is a
love
book
that
that
book.
just turned my
Love.
life upside down with regard to format. Like that was the
Yep.
first time I'd ever read a book that had a chapter written as a
As a
PowerPoint
PowerPoint.
presentation. And I was
Yep.
like, oh, I like this.
Did
Like
you
I love this.
right? Remember the Twitter story that was in Candy House? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's
Yes.
literally a story written in tweets back when we cared about Twitter. I
Right.
mean, so playing with form. I mean, I actually just listening to you riff makes me so happy because the idea that like Veronica Roth and Suzanne Collins kicked off, you're very realistic fiction, right? Like you are
Yeah,
deeply grounded in the world and in people and everything else. And I'm like, see, you can read all of the things, right? You
absolutely.
can read all, and Jennifer Egan, I'm just like, oh yeah, like you, this makes me so happy because I do sometimes feel like I meet people who are like, well, I only like to read this one thing. And I'm like, but there's so much more
There's so much.
stuff.
There's so much. Like I'm obsessed with Leanne Moriarty.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Obsessed. Obsessed.
Her
And then like
pacing,
I'll go from like her and who?
the pacing but her pacing and
Oh
her
my
plotting, I'm
God.
like,
It's like these books are huge and I typically
mhm,
don't like long books, but like
right.
I will devour it. I'll eat them like candy.
Hmm.
Um, James McBride,
Yep, absolutely.
just like the soul and the
Hmm.
characterization in those books.
Deacon
I
King
love,
Kong.
oh my gosh.
I love Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, but Deacon King Kong is like, that is one of the best Shaggy Dog stories I've ever read in my life. But there is so much love in that book, right? Like, it is crazy how much, in both of the books, I should say, there's so much love in both of them. But like, Deacon King, I just smile thinking about that book. I just, all of
Yeah.
those characters where I'm like, oh, I can see that ugly sport coat that you're wearing. Oh, I can see that
Yes.
crazy hat. Like, I see it all. It's just,
Beautiful. And that just says a lot about like how a person
right.
can use words to paint pictures, right? So it's like I also read a lot of like marketing and like I read a lot of social psychology books. I'm
Oh, okay.
obsessed with Adam Grant. Like there's just like
Hmm. No, I get it.
a lot of very I have a psych degree, so like
I think I
psychology I
did not
find
know that.
incredibly fascinating.
Right.
And so much of story is psychology. So
Hmm.
like, but yeah, I read it all because there's something in it. There's something in everything.
I am, I mean, I'm really fortunate I get to do this.
I mean, look where you sit, right? Like, look where you're
I
sitting.
mean, and these are just some of the books that we've, featured on the show over time. We don't actually physically have space for everything, but I love the idea that there is in fact actually a book for everyone, right? Like I have met people over
Yeah.
time who are like, well, I just don't read, I don't find it pleasurable, and my first thought is, I'm so sorry for you. And
Seriously.
then my second thought is, well, you just actually haven't found the book that is going
Yeah.
to make the world crack wide open for you. And yeah, maybe it's a spy thriller, or maybe both of my parents love novels by James Michener. I'm like, rock on. That is not for me, but like I remember growing up around my parents reading. Like
Hmm.
everyone, like we always had a book in a bag or whatever. Like, the
Yep.
worst thing that could possibly happen is you ran out of stuff to read. And then there was the cereal box and you could, all this kind of stuff. And I live in the world. I get it. We all have cell phones. We all have, but part of me is like, in the time that I could be scrolling with my thumb, I could also read a short story,
And I do love short stories.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Or I could read a memoir, or I could read part of a novel. I mean, sometimes I just want to read for language. Like sometimes I
Yeah.
just like Kiese Layman. Like there are
Listen.
times where I'm just like, can I have 3 sentences while I wait for this goofy thing to like pop out of whatever I'm waiting for, kind of thing. I do. Do you read for character first or plot, or are you reading for, because I read for language first. Like I don't necessarily need stuff to happen, but I need language.
Yeah, for me, it's story. Like I'm reading for
Hmm.
like the immersive experience of
Right.
being in the story and seeing how things are
Yeah.
unfolding.
Okay.
So it's all pretty in there together because characterization is a huge part of story
Yeah.
and language is, it's like how is the story delivered? Like all of it is this
Yeah.
reading on the whole is just an experience. And
Right.
I love it. I love it.
I think there is still this idea in some corners of the world, though, that reading is a passive thing. And I'm like, actually, it is so, like, we all bring ourselves to whatever we're reading, right? Like, again, don't know Atlanta all that well, don't know strip clubs. Recognize these women, though. Like, they're smart, they're interesting, they want the world, they want to be in the world, they want to make lives for themselves. Like, relatable,
Yeah.
completely relatable. And it's funny when we sort of make decisions about, when we ascribe morality to stuff that maybe doesn't have a morality to it, right? Like it's like that's a job. It's a
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
thing. If it's not for you, cool. But
Yeah. And it's
and
okay. Great.
right? And but I love the idea that these women can have sort of regular identity and work identity, however you
Hmm.
want to describe it, right? Like they can pivot in their own ways, they can pivot in their own worlds. And I'm
Yeah.
like, we've seen that like with spies, we've seen that with superhero, whatever. Like pick your metaphor, right? Like Atlanta, obviously you guys have a ton of filming that's happening right now. So there's like, who's the actor, who's not kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
But these are women who have chosen these lives and they've chosen to be able to do these things. And yeah, okay. So there's a moment where Lucky's like, huh, how did I end up here?
Hmm.
Standing in the very fancy place that she's standing, going,
Right.
making faces. But that to me is an incredibly human moment, right? Like you're supposed to want the fancy house and the fancy this. And she's like, but I don't actually own this.
Right.
I don't actually, like, I'm comfortable, but I don't actually own this. That to me is kind of a groovy moment that not everyone would expect, right? Like
Yeah.
I felt like I got a piece of her where I was like, huh, I don't think you meant to share that with an outsider, but here we are.
Hmm.
How much did the women surprise you?
Interestingly enough, I think that Charm is the person who surprised me the least.
Okay,
Um,
that I get. Sorry, I get that. I mean,
she's
she's the
the youngest.
youngest.
She's
She's the
still trying to
newest.
figure
Yeah,
herself out,
yeah.
And I think Lyric is the one who surprised me the most.
Okay.
Um, and we're not going to spoil, but like
No,
there are like a few decisions that she makes that even though I outlined it,
right.
when it's starting to flow out on the
Yeah, yeah.
page, it's like, oh shit, bitch, you really about to do this? Like, oh, okay. Like, let me get it written down. But she did. She
Yeah, yeah.
surprised me. She surprised me a couple of times, and I think that I'm curious to start hearing like who people feel like drawn to the most, right?
Yeah.
Because I think Lyric to me is the least likable, but the easiest to love, as strange as that probably sounds. And maybe
It,
that's just because I wrote her, but like she's not easy to like, but you can't not love her.
but I didn't dislike her. That's the thing. Like
Yes,
I
agreed.
understand what you're saying. I didn't dislike her. I was fascinated by the choices she was making because I did not expect. There were a couple where I was like, well, I get it, but I didn't think that was going to be you.
Yeah,
But I did not dislike her. I was just kind of watchful with her. Like, I'm not sure I trusted her entirely.
that part.
And trust, for me, trust and likability are like wildly different things. And I do
Absolutely.
think there are some readers who are like, I need all of the package. And I'm like, I don't care if I like you or not. You need to be interesting though.
Yes,
But I
agree.
also don't want like mustache twirling either. Like
Yeah.
I need to not have stereotypes. I need to not have caricatures. I like to be surprised. I read so
Yeah.
much that I'm maybe not as surprised as I would like sometimes, but
Yeah.
I definitely need, yeah, I need people to not be cardboardy. I need people
Mhm.
to be who they're going to be. And I suspect part of what I'm saying is I need writers to trust that the characters are doing the thing that the character needs to do and not
Yeah.
necessarily what the story needs.
Correct. And that does involve trusting your character and checking your
Yeah,
judgments, especially when it comes to because one of the things that I was hyper cognizant of as I was writing Boomtown was judgment, right?
yeah,
You can't
right,
write a compelling character if you're judging them. It
right.
just doesn't work. And so there are absolutely a number of decisions made by all three of these women that I would absolutely never,
Hmm.
but I still respect them, right? Like I understand there's something about humanity.
Yeah,
You were saying earlier, like we see these kind of exaggerated double lives that they seem to be
right,
living, where you have this work self and you have a different self, but that's true of everybody, right? And
right.
that's the
No,
thing that I
exactly.
really want. If people take nothing else away from Boomtown,
Hmm.
I want people to take that we all live like strippers in the sense that there is an us that we present to the world that other people see that we used to make a living. And then there's a different you that
Right.
you don't show everyone. And that is a perfectly okay way to be. Like it is perfectly okay to have these two selves, if you will.
Well, I think too, bringing your authentic self 24/7 is a bit much for the world in general. Like
Yeah.
we don't actually have to do that 24/7.
No, we
Like
do
there,
not.
I
It's okay to
I
have a little fun, you know?
that and also sometimes you just need to stare at a wall and reboot, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just need to be like, I can't talk anymore. I can't do this. Um, especially when when you come off of a festival weekend and you're like, I will never speak again,
You're like, I'm done.
ever.
This is not. I mean, what's funny is I have the opposite experience. I am so
Mhm.
hyper extroverted that like I leave festivals just juiced.
I'm delighted to hear that. I'm glad for everyone. I may not have that response consistently.
You know, and that's okay. It's all good.
Okay, I know you've got two more books coming out,
Mhm.
but what does your interior writing life start to look like now that you've had this freedom and had this space to do a different kind of thing? Like, does the cadence become on and off? I'm going to do this, or are you just going to let the stories and the ideas sort of dictate where you go and how you get there?
I've got this image in my head of the sea turtle scene in Finding Nemo,
Mm-hmm.
where like Crush is in the current, the channel or whatever it's called.
Yep.
And like that's where I'm at. Like
Okay.
I'm in the current and we're just gonna flow.
Right.
I'm going to write whatever the hell I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very good feeling.
Yeah.
A very
Yeah.
good feeling.
I mean, you have been doing this for a while now. You do know
Yeah, I
what
mean, but you
works
know,
and
there
what
were
doesn't. I
so many
mean,
limitations.
right.
And it's in doing Boomtown that I realized, like, wait, there are a number of limitations that
Mm-hmm.
I've had. And that's also true with Boomtown, right? Like anytime you're producing something for commercial
Right.
consumption, there are limitations. But like it's different. It's hitting different. And I
Yeah.
like it. I like it a lot. So I'm just gonna keep making stuff, writing stuff. We're just going for it.
It's a delight. It's a total delight to see. You know, I almost just said something to you about a thing that happens between two characters, and this is where I get a little annoying because I'm dancing around spoilers more so than one of the things I really loved about Boomtown is I was still surprised. There were moments in the story where I was like, huh, didn't see that coming. And one you and I were just talking about, and I'm like, yeah, we so can't talk about this on air. We super can't
Sorry.
talk about this on air. Um, it's a really thoughtful book. It's a really thoughtful book. The characters will stick with you. It is smart and different and not judgy.
Hmm.
We could all use a little less judgy.
Hmm.
And I really cannot wait for this book to be out in the world. And I cannot wait to see how you get to do different things going forward and like do all of the things that you want to do. Because this has been really fun, Nic Stone, talking to you. This has been
Ah,
really,
thank
really good.
you.
Thanks for making the time.
No, thank you for having me and giving me space to be a grown up. So appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. Poured Over is a Barnes & Noble production. To help other readers find us, please rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.